Welcome back, YouTube. So I wanted to point out something, even though we haven't got to those what I would consider critical markers yet, but I did want to point out what it looks like. It's because we are developing a trend right now. So as far as for like a major sell-off in the market, one of the things I said was this would happen around the 58,000 mark for Bitcoin. And as you can see, I'm going to do some jumping around here just to kind of make my point because I know it hasn't happened yet, but I want to just kind of show you what it looks like so we can be on the same page here. So what we're looking at here is the coin market cap, and you'll see that I know sometimes people just focus on Doge and like the price, depending on what your favorite crypto is, but the entire market's red, right? So we can take a look at this here on the 7-day for the coins here. It's red. Tron is up, but other than that, it is an absolute bloodbath, and we're seeing some slight differences here, but overall, like you see, like Solana, XRP, Doge, it's very similar patterns here. So that's what I meant. As far as like divergence, it's still it's still relatively trending together. Even the crypto that's the capital that's coming into the coins are being very below, right? So because right now for Doge, even in the last 24 hours, it's less than $1 billion that's coming into the coin. Cardano has, we're still doing 3 times the volume of Cardano, and what is this? About 8 times the value of the volume, excuse me, of Toncoin. But overall, there isn't much capital coming into the market. So what does that mean? That means that there is fear coming into the market of about a potential sell-off, or they believe that you could potentially get a good price coming in. So, and even here, we're no longer, based off of the numbers here, even if you look at the fear greed index, we actually are in neutral now. So it's not the extreme greed that we've been seeing over the last couple of months. We're actually in neutral. So you can see like kind of like this retracement that's going on here. So the reason I charted this, let's go back to the chart here, but the reason I put this here in the first place is, as you guys know, for the ones that follow me, I like to keep an eye on both aspects of the coin, right? The positive bullish aspect and the aspect to the downside, right? That's why I put this here a while ago, as far as for the 58 mark. Well, excuse me, this is for Doge now, but this is for Doge. This is around that 12-cent mark for Bitcoin. I go back. That's why I put the 58,000 mark there, because that it's a possibility, right? And the reason I put it there is because historically these things happen during the bull run, right? This is that's a historical percentage that these coins have corrected, and before they did the ascension or started going toward their peak bull run. So the interesting thing here is that you want to see the strength of the trend, and you always want to monitor that, right? So zooming in here, you can see these are daily candles. You can see the difference, and this is what I pointed out the volume for is there's very little capital coming into the market. So you can see the difference in these candles here, and you have obviously the 70 to 14 crossing the 72. That's a signal. But the most important thing is here, look at the size of these daily candles, right? The volume is shrinking. So what does that mean? That means that this trend is becoming weak. So when you have a weak trend, you are going to go where there is liquidity. And if the trend is weak and you're not pushing up into levels of liquidity, you're going to go down to where there's levels of liquidity. And when that happens, what you're basically doing is you're enticing the market, which is why we looked at the fear greed index. You're enticing the market to see where are there going to be people willing to come in and purchase this asset. Where do they believe that, if they believe that it's going to go down, or potentially based off of the market, based off of the macros, they believe that this isn't a fair price for it. Where do they believe that it is a fair price for it? And that's where you can expect typically to get some rejections or a lot of capital flowing back into the asset. So for Bitcoin, we know that next major level is going to be somewhere between 60 and 58,000. Right, we're getting some rejections here, so people are buying. You can see some of the wicks here on the candle here. I'm going to try and zoom in for you. You can see some of the wicks here on the candle where it's some pushback, but overall, this is a downtrend, and the trend is getting weaker. So, but the question is, are they going to have enough money to generate it to keep it from going to grab this liquidity? As of right now, it does not look like that's going to be the case. So what does that mean overall for the market? Well, that means that the market will react and do something similar. So obviously, I'm going to take a look here at Doge. Doge is projecting the same pattern, really. You have the 14 crossing the 72, which is a uh, signal for a current downtrend. You have the trend weakening here. Same thing. People are coming in and buying, but it's not going to be, the volume is relatively low compared to what it would take to sustain current prices and stuff. So typically what we're looking at for, because we're actually here now around that 1388 mark, but that would mean that the next period, as far as for where people would feel comfortable buying the asset, is going to be somewhere between this 12 and 13 cent mark, right? And again, that's why this line is here. This is one of the things that we track. We track both sides. Where have we gotten these tests from? And to be honest, we've done this even from 18. We came down here, we tested, and then we had that. That's when we went out to test that 22.9, 23 cent range that we've been ultimately that we're going to have to retest again on the way up. So this is the reason that this line is here. This is absolutely normal for this period of the bull run. We typically have the sell-offs after the halving. You have the halving sell-off, then you have a rally, and then depending on the cycle determines the level, because after the halving you can have somewhat of a sell-off or just kind of like a flattening, or you can have an aggressive sell-off. But nothing that has happened is abnormal based off of the trends. You can take a look at a video I made like last week, and we went over like 2016 and 2021 and compared the trends. But as of right now, there's not much of a divergence. This is all, this is all highly probable after the sell-off, but after the halving. But ultimately, these numbers here to the downside are like around the 12, 13 cent mark, the 58,000 for Bitcoin. These are all in place. Those numbers are not going to adjust, just like the numbers to the upside. On the upside, when we have the ascension, it's still going to be, the next targets are still going to be 18 and 22 to break through. And then we'll have that run to the 25 to 30 cent range. Now, initially, I was thinking that we wouldn't have this aggressive sell-off just because of the amount of people that were coming into the coin and how aggressive and early we ran. Just because I was thinking, I was like, well, based off of the amount of retail that's in crypto right now, maybe we can have a divergence and create a new trend, a new level of expectation that happens prior to having and crypto, so that it's not necessarily that aggressive sell-off. Well, that's not playing out. They still are going to have these aggressive sell-offs prior to the halving and after the halving. So right now, this is one of the reasons we look at history, but as of right now, history is, I'm not going to say it's predicting the future, but it's certainly rhyming with what it has always done for the previous few trends, which is we're getting this sell-off. So right now, again, if we have like a big divergence, then obviously I'll report on it. But right now, this is just normal, really. This is not abnormal. The only thing I'll say that is abnormal, especially for Doge, is the reason I mentioned this here, and the reason I came up with that theory saying that we may not have that aggressive sell-off, is because of this run right here. Because even if we go down to, let's say we go to the full correction here around like 12, 13 cent, that is still 100% above where we would normally be historically in this cycle. So there is some divergence, but it's just not as much as I initially thought. Because this is one of the things that I really found intriguing about this was this run right here. Because technically speaking, Doge should still be at around 6 to 8 cent until like September through like November. Like Doge should start moving around that time. Like so even right now, we're still above, like way above, like 110%, 120% above where we should be historically. So it's very interesting, but hey, again, I'll count it, because the higher we consolidate and the higher we have these resting points, ultimately that can translate to a higher number on in peak bull run, right? So instead of launching from 6 to 8 cent, launching from 12 to 15 cent can mean just that much more to the top of the coin. So ultimately we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. But overall, nothing major here. I want to point this out. The trend is weakening. So right now we have somewhere between 58 and 60 loading for Bitcoin, and somewhere between, I'll say, 12, 13 loading for Doge. And I believe that this historically can play out for maybe like another couple weeks or so. And then we should see an ascension here and some retests to get out of these zones. So that is what we're looking at now. Obviously, if we get a divergence in some of the bigger charts, then we'll take a look at that. But ultimately, that is what's loading for right now. So let me know your thoughts and what you plan to do during this period here. If you're going to take advantage of it, or if you're just going to wait because you believe that it can potentially go lower, or if you're going to, or if your DCA is much higher, you're counting this as a blessing because you want to be on the next uptick. You want to be in a better position. Just let me know in the comment section. If you found value, please consider subscribing. We're going to get to 100,000 before Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is giving me some more time to make this possible. So I'm sharing that with you guys. Please help with that if you can. Thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video.